Hey YouTube, today we're going to be doing a workflow of the Flair 58. It's paired with the niche grinder and the Smart Espresso Profiler. We're going to go over what I'm kind of doing with it day to day. This is day 3 with it, so I'm going to go over some of the features and some of the things that I like and don't like about it so far. So please enjoy. This is going to be a little bit raw. I'm apologizing in advance if my camera handling isn't the best. I'm trying something new here. I'm not the best at the filming aspect of it. But if you find this video useful at all, please like and subscribe. That really helps me continue to produce content for you. If you're looking at purchasing any of the gear below, use the affiliate links where I'll make a slight amount of commission at no extra charge to you. That's going to help fund other gear for future videos. I also have an Instagram called Cabine's Coffee Corner, and you're more than welcome to follow me there. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to note how I did cable management here. So one of the things about the Flair is it came with that massive power brick if you looked at my unboxing. So I actually have it wired up in here and taped through here. I have this entire Flair so you can slide it out here just like that, because you need to put it at the edge of the counter to be able to lift up the lever enough. Here on this remote control, I have the switch bot, which will automatically press the button for me. I can set it to a timer, or I can do it remote over Bluetooth. So I actually preheated and started this Flair 10-15 minutes ago from the bedroom here at my apartment, and I have the Stag EKG Plus, so I put that on Bluetooth as well. So we're going to go ahead and dose out 15 grams or 18 grams of coffee here. I got some Sweet Marias, and this is the Akaya Cinco scale. This was released 3 years ago or so. This is a limited edition run. It's the same as the Pixis. It goes to 1/100th of a gram, so I typically use this for dosing because I do like the Lunar a little bit better for the Flair 58. Lift up the niche. So here I have the Craig Lynn espresso shaker funnel. So basically I'm grinding into this, and I simply pull this up and it distributes it over the portafilter. So I'm going to put that right there on the niche. Go ahead and start. That's the little bellow I bought off Amazon for my niche, just to make it a little bit better that way. You want to get all the grinds out of that. So I'm going to slip on this little lid here, slide that out, and since I've been here a little bit longer and I set this up a little earlier, I've already preheated everything. So we should be good to go on that. So I'm just going to shake my grinds up. I'm going to dry out the portafilter since I've used it once already this morning, so it's a little wet on the inside. Make sure that's nice, clean, and dry. So I'm just going to give this a shake, and I'm going to simply, it sits perfectly on the portafilter there, and I'm just going to get all those grounds out, and then I'm going to give it a couple of knocks on the table. And that's going to get it fairly even. It's not the greatest. I got this about a week ago or so, so I'm still learning on how to do the best with that. But that's what it looks straight like that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and tamp. This is the Barista Hustle Tamper. I'm going to do that as flat as I can, give it a little tiny spin at the end to make sure all the grounds get up. And this is the Flair 58 puck screen. This is supposed to help distribute the water over the ground bed a little bit better. And also, it's going to help keep it clean. So I'm going to give that a little tamp, make sure everything is even. The nice thing about this is you can see on there, hopefully you can see on there, there's a little groove right there, which means that you can kind of see if you've done it fairly even around, which it looks like I'm pretty close all around. So that's a nice little gesture here. So we're gonna lift up the handle here, get that out of the way, and this should be nice and hot. We have the Kaya Lunar scale underneath of it, and this will look a little wobbly and that's because my countertop is seamed right here on the center, so we're not going to have a perfectly even counter here, so it's going to wobble side to side because of that. So if you noticed earlier when I was grinding coffee, I filled up a cup of hot water because you want to get everything as hot as possible. So this is my go-to espresso cup of choice, which is the not neutral cup. I'm really big fan of these. So I'm going to simply just put that as close to I can as underneath the center here. I'm going to get my app ready, which my app is the Smart Espresso app, which you can use without the without the SEP here, which is right here on the side of it. I picked that up maybe about a year ago, and I have a fitting on the back even of my robot here. So I got this custom added, which is the gauge from the company, and right here I can clip on that SEP, so I can theoretically take a shot from this and pull the exact same shot directly on the robot down the road. Also put a Horween leather mat on there because I think it looks a little bit better and it's a flatter surface for brewing a shot. So we're going to go ahead and lift this part up, and I did hear back from Flair, and you are supposed to store all of this attached and pushed down in there. So that little complaint I made on the storage is already resolved based off of what Flair said, and maybe that was in the handbook that came with it, but I didn't read the handbook, so that's what we have there. So typically I bought the little shot mirror, which if you'd like to see, let me grab that. It's a nice little mirror, fits well, has a little light that you can clip, turn on. I don't know how well you can see that, but so let's go ahead and fill up here. And we're going to fill it all the way to the top, just past the little inner ring if you have one of these at home. And I basically have this set up to the hottest setting on the Flair controller, and I have it at the hottest setting on my kettle, so 212, which is boiling point because I'm here in Nebraska. And now that I got all of that set up, I'm going to go ahead and begin to pull my shot, and all of this is going to be seen on my iPhone here, which is where my SEP is. And this is really easy to do with that SEP, and just the amount of effort to pull a shot with one arm is way easier on this one than it is the Flair Pro 2. It almost feels like you have your grind way too coarse on the Flair Pro 2 and you kind of pull it and it just is way too easy. It almost feels like that, which kind of throws me off a bit. So you're going to take your cup, and you might have a little dribbles coming out, but that's okay. And you're going to get another cup, which is also not neutral, one made by Tom's, the shoe company, partnered with them. So you're going to disperse your water right through there. And the more you kind of hold that down, the more drips you get, the drier your puck will be at the end, which I think comes out really dry. And then you're going to simply pull up everything, and you're going to unlock your portafilter. And so you have it pretty clean on the top there, because of the puck screen makes it a little bit different. But that puck screen slides out super simple, so you see how dry we have that puck. And then I'm going to pick this up. It's going to be pretty hot, but this puck screen is really clean on both sides. So that really helps with cleaning your portafilter. And then you go over to the knockbox, and then you're good to put it back in your machine until next time. So overall, this has been a good machine, and I hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, these shots that come out of this are really, really good. I'm looking forward to comparing it with a semi-auto heat exchanger machine. The reason for that is because my main question with this is how does it compare heat-wise with a machine with an actual boiler in it, which really, really affects the outside of the cup. And by outside of the cup, I mean the contents of the cup. See, when I've been brewing with manual machines like the Robot and the Flair, that's one thing that has lacked in my personal preference on the shot quality. When I look at my overall setup now with the changes here in the workflow that I have, one of the things that, a few things I like and don't like about it is the machine of a semi-auto seems a little bit easier of a workflow. I think it's because I don't have to simply take off all these pieces and pour water in there. That's just automatically in the machine, and I just click a button and water comes out, and then I put my portafilter in and espresso comes out after I grind and do all those steps, versus like locking in the gauge or the SEP or anything like that with the Flair. I also like, this is me being super nitpicky, I also like the simplicity of my other machine, the Nuovo Simonelli Oscar. The reason for that is because like I just have one button that I have over Wi-Fi that I can turn everything on, versus now my Flair and my kettle has to be two different apps for Bluetooth. That sounds really cliche and dumb, but in the morning it's really nice to just be able to do that from the bedroom and have everything turned on pretty quickly and pretty easily to make sure it's preheated and ready to go for you. I often make espresso over lunch, so what I do is I turn my espresso machine on from work for when I head home, so it's already preheated and ready to go for me, so I don't have to waste part of my time on my lunch break waiting for it to heat up. Overall, this the Flair has been good so far. I've been having a little bit of issues with my SEP. It's been a long time since I used it, so I'm pretty sure it's user errors. I'm not too worried about it or get it to resolved. I had an issue with an O-ring on my pressure gauge, was out of place a little bit, so it squirted the first time I used it. Again, not a big deal, super easy to fix. Overall, the handle on this Flair is way longer, which makes it easier to pull a shot. Makes it a lot more comfortable to do, but however, with the cupboards and cabinets that I have behind me, it makes it really kind of hard to store it. I really have to push it down back there to pull it out, and it's kind of a finicky thing because of the fact that I have the scale in there too, so I'm like dragging the scale because it's not attached to it. This is like super nitpicky things, not too big of a deal on any of it. It's just something that I need to get used to. It's definitely a change going from using a Flair to using the semi-auto machine that I have, and then going back to using the Flair on a regular basis. However, though, I've been very happy with the shots that I've got out of it. I think one of the huge things that you get at this price point for $529 is the fact that you have full control over everything. So I can pre-infuse for 2 seconds, no seconds, 3 minutes if I wanted to. And I can pull my shot at 6 bars for half of it and drop down to 2 bars or 9 bars or 12 bars, whatever you really want to do. There's so many opportunities for you to really adjust your shot. The nice thing is if you don't dial in your beans right the first time, you can kind of compensate that by the pressure that you're putting on throughout your machine. So you can almost always get a fairly decent shot if you're in the ballpark, at least on grind settings. The build quality feels solid. I wish my counter wasn't, I wish the place I put it on my counter wasn't so wobbly in that spot, but that's my counter's fault, not that. I've been pretty happy with the tamper. I used the Barista Hustle tamper in this, but honestly, I wouldn't feel the urge to upgrade right away. I don't like the feel of the tamper, but I like the function of the tamper. It has like some weird, I don't know, the finish makes me uncomfortable in weird ways. I don't really know how to explain that, but it's probably like, it's not going to be uncomfortable for everybody. It just, like, the texture of it just kind of freaks me out a little bit versus the texture of the Barista Hustle. I'd highly recommend picking up this puck screen at least when you're diving into this to make sure that you have these clean shots of espresso and all of this stuff. I really like the combination between the niche in the wood colors on here. So let's see, let's pull out this handle. Oops. And it's close. It's not perfect, but it's close. Let me see if I can pull that up a little bit better to the camera here. So if you see that wood color as best as I can, it's a little, the lighting's not the best, I apologize for that. But it is pretty close and it is pretty complimentary, which is nice to kind of have all of those accessories fairly well. It goes pretty well with the Commandant grinder in American Cherry as well. But overall, like, I like the aesthetics of it. I like the looks better than I thought. The feel of gripping the handle up here is a lot better than I thought. It works out super well. The storage, I wish I had a coffee bar and it wasn't on my countertop, so I can just kind of shove this back. The switch bot works really well on the Flair. I just simply stuck it on there with the adhesives and it presses the button perfectly every single time. However, with my other machine, I can just hear the noise of the boiler heating up, so I know it works, versus this one, it's a little bit more difficult to hear from another room. There's 3 settings on there, which means you have to basically press the first button to turn it on for a second and then quick tap 2 more times to get to the higher setting. I cannot do that with the SwitchBot as of now. I don't know if that's going to change down the road, but it is a nice feature to be able to heat up. I'm not sure if I can do it over Wi-Fi and do it remote from the office. That would be great if I could, but it does heat up a lot quicker than my other machine, so we'll see on that down the road. But overall, I feel pretty happy with the Flair. I don't regret purchasing it anymore. There's not much I would change on it. I'm glad that Flair answered my question and that it is able to be stored like this. I might find some easier way to slide it back and forth because that is kind of a pain. The puck comes out so much drier than my other one and makes less of a mess when knocking it into a grounds bin, so that is super nice and I've enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or want to see anything more, there is a video coming soon about the robot and the Flair. Give it a while. I want to make sure I do this video right, and I want to make sure that I have the right answers, and I also want to compare it by just simply heating it up without the heating element on the Flair, since that's going to put it at the exact same price range. But I can tell you now that there are pros and cons to each of these 3 espresso machines, and by 3 I mean the Flair Pro 2 has its advantages over both of these and its drawbacks over both of these. The robot has its advantages over some of them, and the Flair 58 have its advantages. So it's all matters really what you're looking for. All of those 3 machines I think will make you happy, and I think will produce good shots that I've been happy with. I used the Flair Pro for a couple years. Between the Flair Pro 1 and the Flair Pro 2, I used both of those for quite a while and exclusively up until last September. I kind of switched over to the more manual or the more semi-auto machines, but still use the Flair often at the office and things like that. The robot also has been working out well too, for those of you who wanted to know about that. But I know you guys came here for the 58, and it's a great machine. I think you guys will be happy with it. I'm more than happy to ask any questions. I can produce more videos if you want. Again, please give me some feedback on the video and try and help me out with that so I can do better content for you guys in the future. I'm filming on a GoPro with an external mic. It's not the greatest thing, but my iPhone I need to pull the shots with when I film these things, and it's an iPhone 7, so the camera kind of is not the greatest on that. So if you have any ideas that doesn't cost me money, so I don't really want to upgrade my camera or things like that, I would love to hear them. So drop that down in the comments below, and remember, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to hearing from you guys and continue to produce content and answer questions about any of these machines for you. So thank you so much for watching.